everyone, and welcome to The Balancing Act. I'm Olga Viverdi.
And I'm Montel Williams. Today we're going to be learning a lot more about low testosterone.
That's right. And what you need to know about rabies.
Something that you don't hear a lot about, but we got some great information today. The Balancing Act starts right now.
It's a problem that affects nearly 40% of men in this country over the age of 45, and many find it difficult to discuss. We're talking about male hypogonadism, or low testosterone. What causes it, the symptoms, and more importantly, an innovative treatment that's helping men feel better while avoiding some of the complications that can be a deal breaker for seeking treatment. Dr. Parviz Kavusi, a reproductive urologist, Austin Fertility and Reproductive Medicine, Westlake IVF, joins me virtually from Austin, Texas. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Good morning, Olga. It's great to be here.
Doctor, let's talk about low testosterone in men. What causes it?
Low testosterone in men is very common, and it's primarily with aging in most men. There are other factors that can affect testosterone levels specifically in certain men, but for most men, we start losing testosterone at the age of 30, and we typically lose about 2% a year thereon, which means that it just kind of comes down to where do we peak during puberty or adolescence. If we don't peak very high, it may not take very long for that level to drop to a low level. So that's why we see so many men that are being diagnosed with low testosterone these days.
So what are some symptoms men should look out for?
Things like lower energy, fatiguing faster, lower libido, more difficulty with erectile function, more difficulty putting on and maintaining muscle, more difficulty burning fat mass, decreased exercise motivation, tolerance, and response, more difficulty with sleep, focus, and concentration. Some men will get hot flashes and night sweats when their levels are low, and more difficulty with moodiness and irritability. Other signs that we should be aware of are things like osteopenia, osteoporosis, a decrease in bone density over time, even fractures at younger ages than expected, or things like having more difficulty regulating blood sugars are all indicators that we should raise our eyebrow about, is a low testosterone a potential contributor?
It's more than just a low sex drive, right? It can really affect a man's overall health and impact his life dramatically.
The problem is low testosterone is being underdiagnosed and undertreated. In the United States right now, it's estimated that 13.1 million men should be diagnosed with low testosterone every year as a new diagnosis, and we believe that around 5% of these men are actually getting treated. There's a large undertreatment in the percentage of men that should be treated.
Doctor, to put this in perspective, we recently talked with one of your patients who suffers from low testosterone and his fiancée. Let's take a look.
In my 30s, I noticed just a marked decrease in my endurance levels, my general sense of vitality, and mood swings, irritability where I hadn't noticed before. Things that really weren't an issue in the past all of a sudden started becoming much more difficult for me to do, loss of libido, and just feeling lethargic in general. I just noticed a gradual loss of interest, and it just was concerning to me. I thought, well, I'm not old enough to have my sex life go away, and so I wanted to find out what was going on.
I could see that he was struggling. I could see that he was trying to get answers. I could see that he was working toward a solution instead of just accepting his fate.
You know, once I found out from the doctor that my testosterone levels were pretty low, then you know, that was a relief to at least feel like I had an answer to all of these different things that were suddenly bothering me.
When a patient is diagnosed with low testosterone, what is normally prescribed? What is traditional standard of care?
When they've told us which route they want to go, if they want to maintain fertility potential or not, their treatment goes in that direction. In men that have traditionally wanted to be able to have kids in the future, there are medications we can use to stimulate testosterone production, but most men don't get as strong of a symptom response. They don't feel as well on those as they do to direct testosterone replacement. If men are no longer interested in fertility, we turn towards testosterone replacement with either things classically like intramuscular injections or topical gels, but they have potential challenges.
I want to talk about another treatment option for low T. It's called Natesto. I have a sample right here. Doctor, what is it and how does this work?
Natesto is a very unique formulation of testosterone replacement that is the only intranasal formulation for testosterone replacement. It's a nasal gel. It gets injected into the nostrils, and there's a lot of really nice features to this. It's easy to use. It's easy to travel with. It comes in a small applicator container. It's non-invasive, and it works in 90% of men at getting their testosterone levels up. And there's data that shows that within 30 days of initiation of treatment, men are getting significant symptomatic improvement. The things that are really interesting about this product are that it maintains physiology. So our natural testosterone is pulsatile, and Natesto matches that. So unlike any other testosterone product, it's not suppressing the testicles and their ability to do their jobs. So when we give Natesto, it's given in a physiologic manner. The testicles keep working, and we're giving testosterone on top of that. It also can help maintain lower estrogen levels, so we minimize the risk of breast tissue deposition. It minimizes hormones that cause hair loss, and the risk of red blood cell thickening on this drug is extremely low compared to other treatment options. So all the things that we don't like about testosterone replacement as side effects, we really get rid of with this drug.
So doctor, why would a patient take a short-acting treatment like this one instead of traditional options?
Natesto also does not have a box warning for any risks like blood pressure. It has a very favorable side effect profile that's very low risk, and our patients love it. We get such great feedback from them on it. So it is a very tolerable, very effective treatment for low testosterone that has very minimal risks that go along with it.
Doctor, I want to go back to your patient, Corey. He's been using Natesto for about a year. Let's see how he's doing.
When I started using Natesto, within the first few days, I noticed a big difference in my mental clarity was something that I noticed immediately. And then energy started to pick up, and I noticed an increase in my libido. And those three things combined, I just thought, this is fantastic. This is really going to make a difference.
He had more energy, he had hope. He was telling me kind of repeatedly, like, I think this is working.
The fact that I noticed an immediate increase in my libido was amazing to me, because then I was able to express to her physically the way that I felt emotionally. Life is a lot better. It's a lot brighter. I'm very grateful to have an amazing partner who has been there for me, and extent of that is us getting married, and really looking forward to that, and us starting a family.
It's so great to see him so happy. Doctor, final thoughts?
So Corey's a perfect example of what we see day in, day out. Men that were low, that got treated to normalized levels, and are really getting that improvement in their quality of life. They're getting their life back, essentially. And Natesto is a really important drug in this category to consider, because it's more natural, because it allows the body to keep working and do all the good things it does without some of the risks that we can see with other potential treatments. So it's really important for men that have these symptoms to come forward and ask to be tested and get treated appropriately and try to get that quality of life back themselves. And really, that's the part of our job that's so rewarding when we see these responses like we see for Corey.
Great information. I want to thank Corey and his fiancée for their story. We wish them well. And doctor, thank you so much for your time and all the information.
Thanks so much for having me.
By the way, for more information, you can go to natesto.com or just check out our website, thebalancingact.com. We'll be right back. With the weather warming up, we're all doing more fitness and leisure activities outside, perhaps in remote areas, camping grounds, and parks, which can increase our chances of encountering animals. While most don't think of those animals having rabies, it's important to be aware of the risks and know how to prevent getting it. We begin in Berlin, Germany, with Professor Dr. Thomas Jelinek, a well-known rabies expert who has studied the topic extensively.
Rabies is a viral disease. It's a virus transmitted by mammals. It's unique in that it basically kills everybody who gets the infection, and therefore it can spread it too. So what happens is animal bites, and with the saliva the virus is transmitted, and then the virus moves from the wound to the brain basically. It moves following the nerves in the tissue. It takes its time, and once it has reached the brain, it multiplies and causes severe inflammation of the brain. And that's when the patient gets sick, get rabid, basically, aggressive, and you see that something is wrong.
For most people, rabies is not top of mind. Here in the United States, we tend to think it's been mostly controlled with our national canine rabies vaccination program. But it can still be transmitted by wildlife, varies by region, and increasingly, bats are becoming the most common source of human rabies exposures and deaths throughout our country.
Basically, rabies is transmitted everywhere where mammals are. So there's just one country, one single country that had no rabies at all, that's New Zealand. And the highest case rates or incidence, as we say, that's cases per people living in a country, is in India, actually, in Bangladesh. If you manage as a country to vaccinate the dogs, you can decrease the numbers of rabies cases dramatically, because dogs live closest to humans, so they are the most important transmitter, really. And therefore we have far less rabies in Europe or in the US, for example. Then it moves to other mammals that become more important, like raccoons or bats. The problem with rabies is once you got the symptoms, you won't survive the disease. So you have to react really long before you develop any symptom. So the patient becomes irritable, aggressive, starts reacting to light. They have fever sometimes, but not necessarily. Defects of the nervous system, epileptic seizures, becomes more and more somnolent and comatose, and then dies.
Because rabies is nearly always fatal, if you receive pre-exposure vaccination, it is imperative that you also receive post-exposure treatment as soon as you can after a suspected exposure.
Pre-vaccination against rabies is usually recommended to people who are at higher risk. So, for example, travelers, people going to areas where there's lots of rabies around, or people dealing with animals in any way, working with them or having closer contact to animals.
Children are also at risk since they are curious, trusting of animals, and may be afraid to let their parents know that they have been bitten.
So if they are bitten, it's usually closer to the brain, closer to the head. The distance for the virus is just shorter, and therefore you have less time to react with post-exposure prophylaxis, giving them vaccinations after the bite.
There are 7 states that have the highest prevalence of human rabies treatments: California, New York, North Carolina, Florida, Texas, Virginia, and Pennsylvania. And it's in Exton, Pennsylvania that we spoke to the Glass family about their rabies experience.
I woke up in the middle of the night and I thought there was a bug flying around my room. It ended up being a bat. And I woke my husband up and said, "There's a bat in our room!" And I ran out. He made me come back in.
Yeah. I was trying to pop the screen out and I could feel the bat flying over top of my head.
We lost sight of the bat at some point. He finally pulls out a binder, takes the binder to the window, and shoots the bat out. So when I started researching that, if you got bit or you suspect you were bit, or if you were sleeping while there was a bat in your house, that's considered an exposure. So I went to go, in the middle of the night, I examined the kids to look for bite marks. Bite marks is like 2 prong marks in your skin. We did not see a bite mark, but you don't know. They say you won't feel it. You may not feel it.
So after doing more research, Teresa realized the link between bats and rabies and knew she needed to seek medical advice from her doctor immediately. The possibility of exposure left no choice but to get a medical evaluation of the need for rabies post-exposure vaccinations under the circumstances.
At that time, I had a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, and then I called the OBGYN because I was pregnant. And then I called our physician, and everybody says you need to get the rabies vaccine and you need to get it within 24 hours and you have to go to the ER to get it. We took the kids to the Children's Hospital to get their vaccines and they did great. The doctors were wonderful with them. Then I went to the local hospital and at the ER and got my vaccine.
After everyone else got it, so I called around to a few different places to see where I get it, and I ended up going, it was 11:30 at night till I actually got in to the hospital to get my vaccine. So one doctor told me, he comes in, he goes, "You had a better shot of winning the lottery." And I was like, at first I was like, oh my goodness. He says, "But, you know, the outcome is, if you have it, it's, you know, the outcome's not good. So you definitely want to get the shot." So
once a person had exposure, is you give them as much vaccine as possible, and you give them immunoglobulins too. So you give them antibodies from people who already had the vaccination to cover the first week before their own body reacts and they build up an own immune response.
Even their dog Bluesy needed to get a rabies shot because her vaccine had expired. And if you plan on traveling to an area of increased risk, don't leave things to the last minute.
It's not a good idea to come one day before you leave, and it's difficult to give everything. You need some time, so leave 4 weeks, 3 weeks time span, then it's safe. If you're exposed, you need to get the vaccination as fast as possible.
If you suspect a potential exposure, find help right away. Contact your state or local health department to inform them of your potential exposure and seek medical advice either from your physician or at an emergency room or clinic.
If there's a bat in your house, seek medical attention. It's not worth the risk. Untreated, it's fatal. Just get the shots.
I'm definitely glad we did this, just to not have to deal with the worry of it, you know. Get it taken care of and know that I was okay was definitely worth it.
Such great information, and prevention is always the key. For more information, visit loweringtherisk.com or BavarianNordic.com, or just go to our website, thebalancingact.com. We'll be right back.
I'm Megan Trainer of Body by Trainer. Today I'm going to show you my 3 favorite exercises to tighten and tone your midsection, burn calories, and instantly put you in a good mood. All you're going to need is a pillow. Let's get started. Sit onto a mat with your feet out in front of you. Dig your heels in, toes are lifted, hinge back from your hips. Press the pillow away from your body and slam it side to side. Exhale every time you rotate around your midsection. I did tell you this was gonna put you in a good mood, right? Next exercise, go ahead and take the pillow, squeeze it between your inner thighs, and roll onto your back. Dig your heels into the mat, toes are lifted, and press and squeeze your cheeks up off the mat. Slowly lower and tap to the floor. Lift it up. This is working the glutes, also working the abductors, your inner thighs. Down and up. Squeeze every time. Woo! We're gonna feel that right away. Third exercise, maybe my favorite. You're gonna put that pillow in between your feet. You're gonna do a full sit-up, hammer fist position, and slap, slap. That pillow rolling slowly down, 1 vertebrae at a time. Exhale every time you hit that pillow, really releasing any stress or frustrations, and exhale and rotate. I'd love for you to perform each exercise 15 reps through 3 times. If you're feeling good, head over to Body by Trainer on Instagram for more information. Woo! Now you can take a nap.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today.
Remember to head to our Facebook page and our website and follow us on Twitter.
And you know what you got to do. Be safe, love that family of yours, and we'll see you next time.